Let's go fishing. I'm on a mission. It's so pretty, I'd sure hate to waste this chance. We'll find a shady little spot, not too cool, not too high. Perfect for a little fishing.
Morning, boys and girls. I'm out there on the river again, the Kissimmee River there that jumps into the Lake Okeechobee. Doing a little spider rigging this morning, guys, and watching other people troll and some other ones spider rigging. Catching them, it was slow, but I caught a mess, and I learned something. I mean, I learned a little bit from a guy. I was talking to a guy out there. He was catching 5 to my 1, and I was watching him how he was doing it, and he showed me. He showed me how to do it. And I can't really show you, but I'm going to try it in the morning and see how I do. And if I do, I'll share it with you all, and it'll help you if you're out there, got spider rigs set up, or you're pushing or pulling baits. Also, Kyle was out there. I was watching Kyle. Kyle was trolling. He was catching a few. He had a party out there. He was catching a few. I was talking to Mr. Larry. Larry had a party this morning, bass fishing. He caught 28 bass this morning. 28 bass. Caught one 8.5. He caught one 7.5 this morning. So he had a pretty good morning. I stopped at the shop and got my minis this morning. The minis are really good. I mean, this time of year, because there's a lot of people buy them and they have they turn over pretty good. I mean, it's not like they're, sit there for a week now. That they go through minis pretty good there at Gerard's Tackle. So, if you're going out and you want to do some miniing, stop there and get you a bucket of minis there at Gerard. I think they're $7 for a quarter pound, and quarter pounds, that's a good bit of minis. That'll last you for a good while. But I was looking on the screen. I was following the fish on the screen, and my cane poles or fiberglass poles are 10 foot. Well, I've got about 10 foot of line on it. My line goes right back to the back of them. So it's just 10 foot. As long as I stayed in 10 foot of water, I could catch them. But I was watching this gentleman out there from Indiana, and he was really catching a lot of them. And he was out there catching them in 20 foot of water. Well, I eased out in there. Of course, I couldn't catch them, man, because they were too deep. But the specks were holding right on bottom. I mean, they were right down on bottom. What causes that? I don't know. They weren't suspended at all. They were like catfish down on bottom, but they weren't catfish, and they were actually specks. Again, I'm using 6-pound test line, and like I said, I got them poles at the shop there, them fiberglass 10 foot. I use 10 foot. You can get 12 foot. You can get 14 foot. But that's just a little much. Most of mine are 10 foot long, and that way I can handle them a little bit. And I put out a spread. You see how I put out a spread there? I think I had, 12 poles out there. And you can see I got a sweatshirt on. Now, early in the morning, it's cold. And Thanksgiving's coming up tomorrow in 2025, and the temperature's supposed to drop down for a couple days. Will that help the fishing? I don't know. It couldn't hurt it. I mean, speck fishing and crappie fishing is just going to keep getting better and better, as the year goes on. The best fishing down here is January and February for specks, but there's so many people down here. I mean, right after the holidays, people kind of move in down here, you know, and I first went out and anchored. When I first got down there, I just anchored. Then I started just kind of easing around a little bit because I wanted to look to see what was on the bottom, and I just kind of trolled around real slow and I watched other people, what they were doing, how they were catching them. And some people were pushing, some people was anchored like I was, and some people were trolling, you know, and everybody was, you know, doing their own thing, catching fish. And there was a few people bobbering. Now, you know, you can bobber too. You just got to have a slip bobber so you can get down to where the fish are, you know. You can see I got those spider rig pole holders, which makes it pretty handy. I mean, and you can adjust those up and down, or you know, back and forth, whatever depth you want. But I was pushing them clear down as far as I could get. And if I'd get out, like I said, if I get out of 10 foot of water and it was 20 foot, I didn't catch no fish because the fish weren't suspended. I mean, they were hugging the bottom. I had my automatic around my neck, and my trolling motor, my automatic switch or my control for my mini coat is wore out. I wear them out. I mean, because I use them every day, and I got to get a new one. So once I get, you know, I ordered one, and it was $80 from a place in. I'll show you where I got it at, and. It was a bargain, you know what I'm saying? But when I got it, I see why it was a bargain. It didn't work. And then if you send it back, they get to keep 20%, and plus you got to pay the shipping on sending it back and getting it back. And so in other words, they put the screws to you. And I'll show you. I'll take a picture of it where it's at. So you don't want to buy anything there. I mean, because they're a crooked bunch, I'm telling you that right now. Yeah, spent $80 for nothing. You can see my screen. I'm watching that screen, just, you know, try to stay in them. That sun come up, I was shedding clothes pretty quick. I mean, it goes from like 53, 60 degrees to 85, 90 degrees just as soon as that sun breaks through the cloud cover or comes up over the lakes. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and you got 45 to 55 degree at night, and then it's getting 90 degrees through the day. It's hard for the fish to, you know, to adjust to that, and it takes for a while, you know, because the water temperature is like 67 degrees. Okay, then you go into the shallows. Okay, it's whatever the temperature is, you know. If it's down, you're fishing in 2 foot of water, it's 55 degrees. That water is going to be 55 degrees. You know, it's going to cool it down at night, and then when that sun comes up and it's 90 degrees. Well, you know, that 2 foot of water where the fish are, if you're bass fishing, it's going to go up to 85 degrees, you know. So what happens, this is my theory, them fish will pull off, and they'll go out in the lake where there's not a lot of you know, difference in the temperature of the water, where they can stay, maintain the oxygen and the water temperature. And you get out there, and the thermocline is it's not really really adjusted to the cold and warm temperature. So it's a little different right now in November. That's November, 1st December. But once we go on into winter, and it really starts, temperature starts to maintain a little bit cooler and cooler through the day, the fish they get used to it, and you can go back to catching fish. But right now, the fluctuation of the temperatures just got the fish, they don't know what to do. And we're right in the middle, on the upper side of the moon. Full moon's coming up here for long, and then I always do good the week before the full moon. That's my favorite time is down here. And I used to do muskie fishing too, the same way, and walleye. I'd watch that right before the full moon before I take people out. I'd tell them, "So man, you want to come up here? Yeah, go, and you want to go right before the full moon muskie fishing." That was the ideal time, and like I've always said, when the moon's dropping, or underfoot or overhead, that triggers the bite. Yeah, it was just I wasn't catching a whole lot of fish, but boy, it was comfortable out there. So I was going to say, well, there'll be one bite here in a little bit. So I just floating around, just kind of easing around there, and every once in a while, one would tug into my pole, and I'd have to bring him in, This is really a relaxing way to fish right here. It's not. You don't have to really. Once you get the poles out, get the baits on your poles, it's you can sit down and relax. And everyone, unless they're really, chomping, you catch one once in a while, But you don't have to move around a whole lot, because right now the fish are migrating up the river a little bit at a time, and and I've caught some nice fish this morning, and they're fat, and they're really fat. You can see how slick the water is. The water is flat. Right now, there's not a bit of wind moving, but we got a front moving in here tonight, and so that's going to change. That's going to shove the fish down on the bottom, and or not bottom, but it's going to, have a little bit of and flat's all right, but I like a little bit of a chop on the water, because it's kind of like cover. Because there's no cover in this river, none whatsoever. There's nothing. It's just a flat, sandy, and mud bottom. It's just. And you get a little bit of wind, and that makes the cover. Yeah. I was watching these other people. They were out there in the middle catching them. They were right out in the middle of the river catching them. I wasn't paying no attention. I think this is the one right here. It's a big one. This here's about 12 inches long. I looked over and the pole was bent over and it went back and it tangled up 2 other poles and well, what a mess. Anyway, I ended up having to cut the line, put new line on them poles and start from scratch, which that's all right, but I'm kind of lazy. I got to kind of watch what I'm doing. Oh well. You can see that's a nice fish right there. That's a sandwich. I call them specks like that. You get 5 or 6 like that, you got a pretty good mess. You got 12 fillets, you got a pretty good mess of fish. Look at the sky and look at the water. I mean, it's just. I know up north right now it's cold and raining. I talked to my son up in West Virginia, and they said it's kind of. Oh, fish on. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ways of catching specks. I can tell you that right now. Of course, I like trolling for them. That's all right. But trolling for them, you got to maintain the motor and do all this and that. This, all you got to do is just sit there and put a mini on and pick them up. It's just relaxing. It takes me back to my childhood when I used to have a cane pole underneath the bridge here where I lived in Fishing Creek and get down there. And sometimes I used to have a Zepco 202 back in the early 60s. Before that, my dad, he was a steel worker, but he had 3 kids. He couldn't afford to buy. I'd just go down and whittle out a stick. And you old timers, like I'm 72, you can relate to that. I mean, you didn't have a bunch of fishing poles like now. I got too many. I just put it that way. I got fishing poles for doing this. I got fishing poles for trolling. I got fishing poles for bassing. There's Kyle and his party. He's trolling, and he's catching a few trolling there. It's so yeah. The only thing about it, if you can catch them trolling right now, but you got to go real slow, and sometimes you got to add a split shot because they're right on bottom for some reason, and again that could change tomorrow. They could come up in the water column, up. They can suspend in 10 foot of water or 5 foot of water, but right now they're on bottom. Or today, I mean that's why. I don't know. It's just a challenge every day. You got to try to figure them out. And the guy was out there, the gentleman was out there. He was from Indiana, and he was catching fish. And he showed me what he was doing. And that's what I say. If you see somebody catching fish, go up and talk to them. So a lot of times they'll show you, because everybody wants to catch fish when they come down there, and he'll show you. And he did. And I'm going to try it tomorrow. And hopefully, if I learn anything from him, I'll catch fish and I'll share it with you all.